Good morning. I'm John Stewart, president of the Florida Bar for at least a few more minutes, and welcome to the 2020 General Assembly. For the first time in the history of the Florida Bar, this convention was retooled so that section, committee meetings, CLE seminars, and other events can take place virtually over the past week. The theme of this year's convention fits perfectly: looking back, moving forward, as the bar explores ways to help its members through this COVID-19 crisis. I am mindful that these are challenging and trying times in our country and in our state, not exclusively limited to the health pandemic. We are all in this together, and together we can recover and restore our legal system and law practices to what will likely be a new and hopefully improved normal. And now I'd like to ask Father Guillermo Garcia-Tunon and Rabbi Judith L. Siegal to deliver the invocation, and then ask Nora Morales and PJ Morales, daughter and son of incoming President Dory Foster Morales and her husband Jimmy Morales, for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Sovereign of the universe, who created all of us in love, teach us to love all that is good and beautiful in this world. Teach us all to honor the dignity of difference, recognizing that one who is not in our image is nonetheless in your image, never forgetting that people not like us are still people like us. At this fateful moment in the human story, as a global pandemic continues to keep us apart physically, and the pandemic of racism continues, may we all find our common humanity and work toward a community of peace and harmony. Bless us that we may be a blessing to each other, and guide us to honor you by honoring one another. Beloved God, bless the members of the Florida State Bar and guide their deliberations that they may bring more justice and peace into our state and into the lives of all the people that they encounter. Our Torah teaches us, tzedek, tzedek tirdof, justice, justice shall you pursue. With wisdom and justice, grace and compassion, may all those present and all members of the Florida Bar, led so capably by Dory Foster Morales, bring honor to your name and blessing to humankind, as we all say, Amen.
In a time when the world seems to be falling apart, it is necessary to pause and recognize that the good and holy presence of God, our Creator, is present. In the midst of such turmoil, we must turn to our faith and the assurances we are given in the Holy Scriptures and in our very lives. It is on us to look for that magnanimous presence, even if at times it seems to be more hidden than ever before. Our blessed perspective, though at times filled with fear and trepidation, should never falter in looking for the good. We should not curse the rose bush because of its thorns, but should instead bless the thorn bush because of its roses. Today's installation of the new president of the Florida Bar is an occasion to recognize a rose of hope and justice. Let us bow our heads. Our Lord and our God, throughout the course of human history, you have never abandoned your people. Though men and women have failed to acknowledge your grandeur and have offended you with violence, discrimination, and hate for their neighbors, you have been faithful, merciful, and kind. You've bestowed on us the power to do the good and shun all evil. We ask your blessings today upon your servant, Dory Foster Morales. Bless her with wisdom, patience, respect, and adherence to the law for all whom she serves. Grant her a temperament that values all persons, regardless of economic and social class, ethnicity, or color. We give thanks for all those who have impacted her and instilled in her a strong respect for the law and sense of community. O Lord, we pray this day that you might rain down from heaven, from the fountain that will never run dry, abundant blessings upon her. May her installation this day be a continuation of a lifetime of excellence and service. And in your name we pray, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next, let's please take a moment of silence to honor the memories of the lawyers who have died since the 2019 annual convention. All of their names will be listed on the screen at the end of this program. At this time, it is my honor to acknowledge the leaders of our court and our Florida bar. First, I would like to recognize Chief Justice Canady, who will be speaking shortly, and then administering the oaths of office to incoming President-elect Mike Tanner and incoming President Dory Foster Morales. I'm also honored to recognize and thank all of our justices of our Florida Supreme Court for their leadership and their support of the Florida bar. And I'm especially pleased to welcome the two newest appointees to the court, Justice Renatha Francis and Justice John Coriel, who will join Justices Ricky Polston, Jorge Labarga, Alan Lawson, and Carlos Muniz. During the past year, I've had the privilege to work with the justices on a number of bar matters. In Florida, we are very fortunate to have a court that deeply cares about the issues facing our profession and that works with us to better serve the interests of justice, our members, and ensure the protection of the public. Next, I'd like to recognize all of the past presidents of the Florida Bar and thank them for their service and wise counsel during this past year. U.S. President Ronald Reagan observed that the success of any leader is only as good as the success of his or her team. I would like to recognize my team, the Florida Bar Board of Governors. This year is a particularly good example of how wholly committed the members of our Board of Governors are to our bar. Even while everyone else was struggling with personal and professional issues, our board members remained focused and delivered all of their contributions at the highest levels. It is important to remember that each board member is a volunteer, giving her or his time freely and generously, and by no means any insignificant amount. Without their dedication, hard work, and excellent counsel, the Florida Bar would not be the best bar in the country. To my fellow members of the Board of Governors this year, I thank you wholeheartedly for your support and could not have asked for a better team. To Josh Doyle, Executive Director of the Florida Bar, I also extend my thanks for the sage counsel, the hundreds if not thousands of hours of conversations and remarkable guidance during what might have been the most difficult and certainly the most unique of bar years. Last but not least, my heartfelt thanks goes out to Vivian Cortez Hod's Annual Convention Chair for making this first ever virtual annual convention what it truly was, an unqualified success. More on that later. We would usually hear our Chief Justice speak on the state of the judiciary during the annual judicial luncheon, but I'm very pleased that his remarks this year are part of this General Assembly. Chief Justice Charles Canady is the 82nd Justice of the Florida Supreme Court and has served in all three branches of state government and the U.S. Congress. He was appointed in 2008. He has also served as Chief Justice from July 2010 through June 2012 and was elected by his colleagues to serve a second time starting July 1, 2018 and a third time starting July 1, 2020.
Thank you for the kind introduction, John. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to speak today in this General Assembly of the Florida Bar. John, all of the members of our profession owe you a debt of gratitude for the leadership you have demonstrated during your year as president, and especially during the current crisis. On behalf of our court, I want to thank you and Executive Director Josh Doyle for your tireless efforts to keep the Florida Bar moving forward during this crisis. We are deeply grateful for the outstanding leadership you have provided in adapting to the circumstances brought on by the pandemic. During this time, Florida's judges have recognized that the work of our courts could not be brought to a grinding halt by the pandemic. We all understand that the protection of the liberty and the prosperity of our people depends on a healthy, functioning court system, and that the goal of equal justice for everyone, which would be meaningless without courts and lawyers, is at the very heart of our Constitution and the promise of America. Judges throughout Florida are working hard to carry on judicial business to the maximum extent possible given the constraints imposed by the pandemic. I'm grateful to the judges, county, circuit, and district judges who in the face of the pandemic continue to provide justice for the people of Florida. In particular, I want to salute the chief judges throughout the state who have provided energetic leadership in adapting to the difficulties posed by the pandemic. The operational challenges have been manifold, and the chief judges have managed those challenges day in and day out to keep the wheels of justice moving. In the midst of the pandemic, the people of Florida have been well served by our chief judges. It is also important to recognize the essential work of court staff. We as judges can't accomplish anything without the support of our excellent staff. Charting a course through the pandemic has required special effort by court staff at all levels. I especially want to thank Lisa Keel, our state court administrator, and her team for all the work they have done to address the problems brought on our system by the pandemic. Lisa and her team have worked ceaselessly throughout the pandemic, and they have done so cheerfully and with great professionalism. I would never be able to perform my duties as Chief Justice without their support. Of course, our courts can't function without the participation of our justice system partners. The clerks, the counties, the sheriffs, the state attorneys, the public defenders, and all the lawyers who come before our courts. All these play an essential role in the work of justice. I'm very grateful for the work that everyone has done to move forward in the face of the pandemic. This has been a challenging time for all the participants in our system. I appreciate the commitment of all those participants to serving the people of our state through the current difficulties. From very early in the pandemic, Florida's courts and lawyers began to pivot to the use of video and telephone conferences to deal with matters that could be addressed through those means. Judges and lawyers adapted to the changed environment with admirable speed. So a great deal of judicial work has been accomplished during this time. Cases have been moving forward. And we have learned a great deal from this experience that will benefit the court system long after we are beyond the constraints imposed by the pandemic. I believe that in future years, when we look back on this difficult time, we will see that seeds were planted that helped our courts become more efficient and responsive. Although much work has been done, we have been through an extended suspension of jury trials, and we are now intently focused on taking all steps possible to safely resume jury trials throughout the state. We all understand that many matters, both criminal and civil, cannot be resolved without a trial or the immediate prospect of a trial. Jury trials, indeed, are central to our system of justice. That system will not be fully functional until jury trials are restored. We are moving deliberately, but not precipitously, toward that restoration. We are doing so in a way that is consistent with protecting the health of all trial participants and the public health. All the participants in the jury trial process, many of whom are compelled to be there, must have confidence that we understand the critical importance of protecting their health. Meeting that condition is essential if the resumption of jury trials will be successful. As a part of the incremental restoration of jury trials, we will be conducting pilot projects in several of our judicial circuits for civil jury trials that are conducted at least in part remotely. And of course, we recognize that because of the important interest at stake, a priority must be placed on resuming jury trials for criminal cases. As we have lived through the pandemic over the last 3 months, we have learned much about the novel coronavirus. But perhaps the most important thing we have learned is how much we have left to learn. The more we learn about the virus, the more reason we have to be humble about the limits of our knowledge. That uncertainty cannot be allowed to immobilize us, but it does require that we proceed thoughtfully, deliberately, always willing to re-examine our preconceptions, and with an awareness that everything we are doing in response to the pandemic is a work in progress. As we've been moving through this uncertain terrain, I am very grateful for the contribution made by the work group on the continuity of court operations, under the outstanding leadership of Judge Lisa Munyon. The work group is comprised of an extraordinary group of people who have made an extraordinary contribution to the efforts of the judicial branch to meet the challenges posed by the pandemic. They have put aside their other obligations and have devoted untold hours to the issues dealt with by the work group. I am so grateful to them for everything they have done to help us chart the course forward for our branch. During recent conversations with legislative leaders throughout the state, I have been greatly encouraged by the expressions of support for the important work of the judicial branch. As our courts go forward and deal with the pandemic backlog and pandemic-generated cases, the support of the legal profession for adequate funding for the judicial branch will be more important than ever. There are certainly great challenges ahead of us, but I'm confident that we will be able to meet those challenges. Finally, I want to express congratulations and best wishes to Dory Foster Morales and Mike Tanner as they take on their new responsibilities for leadership of the Florida Bar. I know that Dory and Mike will do an outstanding job for the lawyers of Florida, and I'm very much looking forward to working with them over the next 12 months. I am grateful for their friendship, and I admire their commitment to serve the bar and the people of our state. As Chief Justice, I now say to all the lawyers and judges in Florida, and to all those who help us in our work, thank you for giving life to the rule of law and for pursuing the goal of equal justice for all. Stay safe.
Chief Justice Canady, again, thank you most sincerely for your leadership, for your friendship, and for all that you offered both me personally and the Florida Bar during what is undoubtedly an extremely challenging year. This year, I'm giving 2 President's Awards of Merit. The first President's Award is presented to Vivian Cortez Hodds. This award recognizes Vivian's extraordinary service and dedication as chair of both the Annual Convention Committee and the Voluntary Bar Liaison Committee. She exemplified able and steady leadership and a positive attitude, not only in the many, many details that go into planning a Florida Bar Annual Convention, but also under the most challenging of circumstances. In light of the global pandemic, 9 months of annual convention preparation was seemingly lost. The Florida Bar's marquee event transitioned at the very last minute to an entirely virtual experience. Without hesitation, Vivian rallied the committee and the staff at the Florida Bar to assure that in the extraordinarily short time given, the first ever Florida Bar virtual annual convention would be a rousing success. Likewise, Vivian, as the leader of the important Voluntary Bar Liaison Committee, showed true leadership in making tough decisions by canceling the Voluntary Bar Leaders Conference and instead pivoting to a series of events throughout the next year that will best serve our almost 300 voluntary bar leaders across the state. Despite these various adversities and the myriad of challenges presented, Vivian has continuously shown an unwavering dedication to the work of both committees for the benefit of the Florida Bar and its members. Her efforts deserve the legal profession's highest respect and appreciation. Vivian, please accept my deepest gratitude for everything you've done this year. Congratulations. The second President's Award of Merit is presented to Dave Ehrenberg for his extraordinary service and dedication to the Florida Bar Board of Governors from 2016 through 2020. Dave's distinguished career in the law and public service includes serving in the Florida Senate from 2002 until 2010, where he focused on criminal justice and consumer protection issues. He now serves as the state attorney for the 15th Judicial Circuit after first being elected in 2012 and then re-elected without opposition in 2016 and 2020. He leads a team of 120 prosecutors and more than 200 professional staff in 5 offices throughout Palm Beach County. Beginning in 2016, 4 consecutive Florida Bar presidents, including myself, appointed Dave to serve as the government lawyer representative on the Board of Governors. Throughout his service, Dave has offered each president and the entire Board of Governors keen insight into the legislative process, as well as guidance in the areas of concern to government lawyers around the state. He continuously demonstrated unwavering support for all government lawyers and for the Florida Bar as a whole, and deserves our most sincere thanks. Dave, thank you for all you've done for our bar, our board, our profession, and the people of Florida. Congratulations. The next award I will present is the G. Kirk Haas Humanitarian Award. Kirk Haas was a member of the Florida Bar who practiced law in Miami until his untimely death in 1987. He was recognized by many for his humanity and legal ethics, as well as his skill and his professionalism. The G. Kirk Haas Award was established in 1998 by then Bar President Edward Blumberg to recognize a Florida Bar member for his or her meritorious service to our profession. The award recipient selects a Florida law school, and a scholarship is awarded to a student who demonstrates an exceptionally high degree of integrity, ethics, professionalism, and a concern for others. My selection for the 2020 Kirk Haas Award is Teresa Jean-Pierre Coy. This Tampa lawyer, who also teaches classes at her alma mater, Stetson Law School, and who is a former assistant public defender, is the epitome of personal and professional courage and of dedicated service to the legal community. At the young age of 39, Teresa was a breast cancer survivor and a mother of a toddler, along with her prosecutor husband, Travis, when while racked with back pain, she soldiered through jury selection in a client's federal drug trafficking conspiracy trial. After court ended, she went to Moffitt Cancer Center where she was previously treated. The next morning, she unfortunately learned test results appeared to show that the inflammatory breast cancer had spread to her bones, resulting in a spinal fracture. Nevertheless, Teresa finished that trial, but it was far from her final act, though this cancer required more chemotherapy, more radiation, and more surgery. A self-professed fighter and bar junkie who credits faith in God for her hope and many mentors for her love of giving back, Teresa is the former president of the George Edgecombe Bar Association, and earlier this year, she co-chaired the Solo and Small Firm Section Annual Conference, its largest event of the year. Teresa speaks out about her health challenges so that other lawyers will learn from her experiences and take their health and wellness seriously. Teresa, we thank you for being an inspiration to your fellow lawyers. It is indeed my great honor to present you with this award. Congratulations. Next, I will present the Marshall R. Cassidy Senior Award. Established in 2012, this award honors and recognizes the legacy and attributes of Mr. Cassidy, who served as executive director of the Florida Bar from 1961 through 1980. After his death in 2011, a special committee created this award to honor him and others for extraordinary service to the Florida Bar or to a local bar. My selection for the 2020 Marshall R. Cassidy Senior Award is Melissa Byers, Executive Director of the St. Petersburg Bar Association. The leaders of the St. Pete Bar say that from the day she was hired, she has ushered through their association continued improvements to make it a strong partner that it is today with its 1,100 members. She's a creative and strategic thinker and an excellent communicator. And she is also deeply committed to improving the mental health and wellness of Florida lawyers. Melissa is respected for her integrity and known for her warm smiles and great enthusiasm. In addition, she supports the Florida Bar and the entire voluntary bar community as a planner and presenter at the annual Voluntary Bar Leaders Conference. Last year, she took the lead to create and market the sponsorship package for the fantastic conference, which resulted in the highest revenue and highest involvement of legal partners over the past decade. I've been able to get to know Melissa not only as a local bar manager, but also as an advocate for the entire legal profession. We've worked closely on finding a way for the Florida Bar Lawyer Referral Service to reach more consumers, and in turn help more lawyers, not just those in her association. She deserves our gratitude, and we are honored by her dedication. Melissa, thank you for all you do, and congratulations. After 20 plus years serving the Florida Bar, it is my honor to give the State of the Florida Bar address, my final comments as president. As we sail across the seas of change, the unexpected can occur. The waters are not always calm, and the winds are not always favorable. Fortunately, we are navigating from a strong position. For 70 years, the Florida Bar has endured and even strengthened while our world has dealt with serious societal issues. Wars, including the war against terrorism, financial crises, natural disasters, environmental challenges, and yes, even a worldwide health pandemic. Our annual convention theme this year highlights the bar's 70th anniversary. Looking back, moving forward. Looking back, our predecessors in bar leadership were the architects of change in our profession, through times of stability and through the most challenging of times. Moving forward, especially during these uncertain times, we must focus on creating and embracing innovations and take advantage of every opportunity we are given to serve our clients in the best ways possible. We must also make sure that we do not forget the enormous unmet legal needs of Florida citizens, especially in such unusual times. As we embrace inevitable change and grow with this new normal, we must continue to be the architects of our future and the guardians of our core values and traditions. Today, we are now experiencing a global health crisis that is causing unprecedented changes in the way we live and work. Never have so many organizations and businesses, including law firms, been forced to rely on technology to maintain regular operations in response to a crisis. The capability of practitioners and staff to use technology to work remotely has never been more important. Carrying on the profession of law virtually and maintaining social distancing is a daily challenge, but daily we improve. Today we are also experiencing a time when our nation is deeply divided, and civil unrest, sadly, is almost a part of daily life. This pandemic and the challenging state of national current events provide perfect examples of why the legal system, including lawyers, clerks, and the judiciary, must quickly modernize in order to continue to serve people in trying times. Our profession, our system of justice, cannot simply grind to a halt because the ways we have traditionally operated are no longer available to us. To paraphrase Solicitor General of the United States under President Woodrow Wilson, John William Davis, we smooth out difficulties, we relieve stress, we correct mistakes, we take up society's burdens, and by our efforts we assure the peaceful resolution of conflict. We must also, through our efforts and regulations, guarantee that all Floridians have the peace of mind that their legal needs can and will be met, and not the least of which, it is our duty to assure that we honor our oath to support the causes of the oppressed or defenseless. We will continue to work to fulfill the purpose of the Florida Bar, to serve the public and improve the administration of justice. This is why we as lawyers must innovate. We must utilize technology because, simply put, society cannot adequately function if the rule of law, if the legal profession, cannot handle the legal issues of our citizenry. Justice for some is neither justice for all nor justice at all. One positive outcome of these challenges is our success in accelerating the learning curve of the entire legal profession to serve the public and advance justice in so many technological ways. I'm proud of the way our profession has responded as fully, as well, and as quickly as we have. But we must ensure not only that our profession can function well during unexpected challenges like this one, but also that we can meet the modern needs of our citizenry after these crises subside. We cannot, we should not, and we will not return to business as usual. But we can and should and will be the architects of positive change at this continued accelerated pace. The global health crisis in particular has also crystallized the need for the review requested by the Florida Supreme Court that is currently underway. The new special committee to improve the delivery of legal services is focused on ensuring that our regulations meet the needs for legal services while maintaining the strength of the profession and protecting against misconduct. Lately, I've been thinking quite a bit about the following questions. First, what is the future of lawyers, or what is the future of the legal profession? This, I believe, is not the question that we should be asking ourselves. Rather, the better question is, in the future, how will legal problems be solved? You see, to assure that Florida's citizens' legal needs are being met, and that Florida lawyers are best positioned to meet those needs, we have to envision how legal problems will be solved in the future. As we investigate the future and imagine the myriad of ways legal problems may be solved, we must step back and allow alternative solutions to meet needs where a lawyer's education, training, experience, and skill are simply not necessary. However, we must also assure that the public is protected. That is one of our primary charges as an arm of the Florida Supreme Court. Alternatively, when legal needs should necessarily be met by educated, trained lawyers, we must zealously and aggressively assure that Florida citizens can find lawyers to meet their legal needs, and that under our rules, lawyers can easily do so. It will take these and other creative solutions to guarantee justice for all. And the only way we can navigate these uncharted waters is through a review and potentially a modernization of our regulatory framework. That's moving forward to the benefit of our citizens and to the benefit of our members, and is the long legacy of the Florida Bar. Now, looking back, there were many accomplishments for the Florida Bar this year of which we can all take pride, including the approval of the parental leave continuance rule, solidifying our proposal for a registered online service provider program, supporting the budget priorities of the judicial branch, and continuing our advocacy for expanded access to justice and for the mental health and wellness of our members. During the pandemic, we prioritized the needs of our members by sending regular, succinct, and needed information through our social media, through the Florida Bar website, and through member-wide emails. Free and topical CLE was available immediately on everything from the federal stimulus packages to how to work remotely, how to deal with stress and anxiety in these unprecedented times, and among many other relevant topics. Thanks to your very soon to be President, Doria Foster Morales, the new Florida Lawyers Helpline was introduced as a member benefit 2 months earlier than planned to provide 24/7 free and confidential counseling for personal and family matters for our Florida Bar members. We also maintained the highest levels of fiscal responsibility while offering our members wide-ranging payment plans so that bar fees would not add to anyone's financial worries. The first ever virtual annual convention we held this week is a tremendous accomplishment. It is my hope that we have involved significantly more members in the work of the bar in this necessary and innovative format. Many thanks again to Chair Vivian Cortez Hodds and the entire annual convention committee for their quick pivots to make sure that the convention's nearly 150 educational components, important section and committee meetings, and related programs carried on with the health and safety of our members and our staff as the top priority. In sum, we spent the past year prioritizing our members' needs and reaffirming our responsibilities to protect the rule of law and engage technological and societal change to protect the full exercise of every American's constitutional rights and access to equal justice for all. We haven't done everything right, but we will continue to improve. These priorities will not change as my successor, President Doria Foster Morales, leads us through the coming period of rebound and recovery. We know that our course can be disrupted at any time by unexpected challenges. These challenges cannot be overcome by the captain of the ship alone. I have many people to thank as my year comes to a close. My sincerest gratitude is extended to the Chief Justice, and the Florida Supreme Court, the members of our Board of Governors, the leaders of our sections, committees, voluntary bar associations, and all of the lawyers and staff who have worked tirelessly to assure that the Florida Bar never wavered in protecting the public, promoting professionalism, and pursuing justice in what can only be considered the most challenging of times. I'm grateful to Dory for her steadfast support. Dory is an energetic, empathic, engaged leader, and she will be an extremely valuable president during these challenging times. I'm also grateful to Young Lawyers Division President Santo Giganji. The Young Lawyers Division has had so many accomplishments, so many projects for the benefit of our members, for those young and young at heart, and he is led with passion and strength. I also extend my utmost appreciation to my firm, Rossway Swan, and to my teenage daughter, Mary Claire, for hanging in there the last couple of years during my constant travel. I'm grateful that my year as president coincided with my dad, William Bill Stewart Jr., on his 50-year anniversary as a bar member, and thank him for his endless support. His wisdom when I graduated from law school, presented to me in a handwritten letter, has been key to achieving a law practice which includes giving back to the profession at levels I never could have imagined, and it has been both personally gratifying and, I hope, worthy of the respect and loyalty of clients, peers, and colleagues. While there are many other thank yous, such as my family of past presidents, my friends, my colleagues, all of whom filled a critical role to assure my success, there are too many to name. Please know I'll reach out to you personally to express my gratitude. I could not have done this without each and every one of you. I am confident that our bar will continue to move forward for the benefit of our members. I am absolutely confident that our profession will weather the current challenges and come out even stronger. I've enjoyed every moment of this amazing experience at the helm. Fair winds and following seas, and a fond thank you to all. It has been my greatest honor to serve you. Next, I'll call on Chief Justice Canady to administer the oath to the incoming members of the Florida Bar Board of Governors.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly swear or affirm to uphold, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States, the Florida Constitution, and the rules regulating the Florida Bar. And I further agree to carry out to the best of my ability all responsibilities pertaining to my office. So help me God. Congratulations to you all.
Thank you.
I'm now pleased to ask Judge Paul Huck of the United States District Court for the Southern District of Florida to introduce our incoming President-elect, Michael Grant Tanner. Immediately after the introduction, Chief Justice Charles Canady will swear in Mike, who will be joined by his wife, Donna.
Chief Justice Canady, members of the Judiciary of the Florida Bar, friends and family. It's my privilege to introduce our incoming President-elect of the Florida Bar Association, Michael Tanner of Jacksonville, Florida. Mike, I was pleasantly surprised when you called me and asked me to introduce you. Surprised because, candidly, I had assumed that you had lost the election. But I called the bar's office and it confirmed that you had in fact won. So congratulations. Mike and I go way back to around 1980. We were both lawyers at Mahoney, Hadlow & Adams, then the oldest law firm in Florida. I was a partner in the Miami office, and Mike was a young associate in the Jacksonville office. I recall that Mike was highly touted as an up-and-coming superstar in the litigation department, so I was able to generally follow his early progress from afar. Then our paths parted. Mahoney, Hadlow & Adams split, with the offices going their separate ways. Sadly, some years later, that old venerable law firm, like too many other firms in Florida, went the way of the dinosaurs. So I pretty much lost track of Mike. That is until I think it was 1991. at the Florida Bar Advanced Trial Advocacy Program. It's held every spring at the University of Florida Law School. The ATA program is an intense, week-long workshop for lawyers with some trial experience. I was on the faculty and was pleased that student Mike had been assigned to my section. The program is designed to replicate the courtroom atmosphere, so students are instructed to, among other things, dress appropriately. As I entered the simulated courtroom, I saw all these anxious student trial lawyers decked out in their trial uniforms, dark suits, conservative ties, all but one. Mike Tanner, our former superstar associate, casually clad in blue jeans and a golf shirt. Well, I wasn't yet a real trial judge, but I had slept at a Holiday Inn Express the night before, so I reacted as any self-respecting judge would. I banished Mike from the courtroom and dismissed his case with prejudice, much to the amusement of all of us, except, of course, Mike. However, not yet being the hard-nosed, unreasonable judge I came to be, I relented and reinstated Mike's case, mainly out of curiosity to see if Mike was really as good as previously touted by the Jacksonville partners. Well, he was, clearly the best advocate in his trial group, and nothing has changed since, except, of course, for the gray hair. Mike has distinguished himself as one of the most talented, effective civil trial lawyers in North Florida. Civil in that he specializes in commercial trials and appeals, and more importantly, does so with the highest level of professionalism and civility. That's not only my judgment, it's also the informed judgment of his peers. His list of accolades and honors is truly impressive. He's rated AV preeminent by Martindale and Hubble. He's been designated by the Florida Trend magazine as a legal elite and as a Hall of Famer. He's been designated by other publications as a super lawyer, a best lawyer in America, a 2019 Lawyer of the Year, best lawyer in America for the Bet Company litigation, and he's consistently listed in the top 100 attorneys in Florida. Mike has been inducted as a fellow in the prestigious American College of Trial Lawyers, as well as the American Board of Trial Advocates. But professionally, Mike is much more and gives much more. He has authored numerous legal articles, several published in the Florida Bar Journal. He has served on the Bar's Board of Governors since 2011, serving on numerous committees and chairing several of them. Active in and president of not one, but two Inns of Court, and on and on. I've concluded that Mike is either one of the best, busiest trial lawyers in Florida, or has one terrific public relations agent in his pocket. When not busy, very busy representing clients, Mike finds time to generously give back to our profession because he loves being a part of what he sincerely believes is the noblest of professions. He devotes much time and talent to making us all better, more professional lawyers. As just one example, that advanced trial advocacy program I mentioned earlier, well, student Mike Tanner graduated to teacher Mike Tanner just 7 years later, and has since been one of his staunchest, most active faculty members, chairing the program for 5 years. That's where I really got to know Mike better and see firsthand his passion for improving the character of our profession. It's no coincidence that Mike is asked to deliver the professionalism presentation at the conclusion of each ATA program. If there is one overarching consistent theme in Mike's view of what all lawyers should aspire to, it is certainly to aspire to the very highest level of professionalism, competence, ethics, civility. I can't recall a single meaningful conversation with Mike in which he didn't discuss the importance of professionalism in all of its aspects. As is reflected in Mike's stellar reputation among those with whom he litigates, Mike not only talks the professional talk, he walks the walk. As a Jacksonville attorney who knows Mike as well as anybody, recently told me, quote, "If I have an ethical question, Mike is on that very short list of lawyers from whom I would seek advice. Mike is passionate about the law and practicing it the right way," close quote. That's been my observation as well. I'm quite confident and indeed grateful that promoting professionalism will be a central theme in Mike's presidency, as it should be. But enough about Mike Tanner the lawyer. Who else is he, Mike Tanner the man? To begin, Mike is a regular, really great guy. He's happily married to Donna, who by all accounts is generally regarded as his better half. Mike wisely does not dissent. By all accounts, Donna is a fulfilling, loving complement to Mike's professional life. And Mike has 2 daughters and 3 grandchildren, on whom he dotes to the extreme. Mike grew up in Jacksonville. He graduated from Davidson, a pretty decent little college, but then eventually got it right. He attended the University of Florida Law School, where, no surprise here, he excelled before returning home. In my view, what a lawyer does in addition to his or her law practice generally tells a great deal about that person, and so it is with Mike. During the 1990s through the early 2000s, Mike did missionary service in countries of the former Soviet Union. This probably says as much about Mike's character and dedication as anything else, and interestingly, led to his writing a novel based on the people whom he met during his missionary work. It's titled Nikolai Returns. I've not read Nikolai Returns, but if it's half as good as his legal briefs, I'm sure it's an excellent read. Available at a bargain price of $6.99 on Kindle, $10.99 in paperback from Amazon. And if you buy a copy, I'm sure Mike would gladly autograph it for you. A disclaimer is needed here. This speaker receives no compensation for this unabashed commercial promotion. It's my understanding that there's a sequel in the works. Well, Mike, I advise you to shelve that project for a while. You're going to be very busy very soon. A man for all seasons, Mike has become a gentleman farmer. Mike and Donna operate what he calls a cattle farm in South Georgia, where they raise red Devon cattle. I suspect this was Donna's idea. She grew up on a cattle ranch in Oklahoma. Mike, you see, real cattlemen call it a ranch. Based on my Google research, the red Devon, also known as the red devil, is renowned for its particularly thick hide, excellent for fending off those pesky little critters. Mike, it occurs to me that similarly, a particularly thick hide might serve you well during your bar presidency. Mike and Donna are also avid cyclists, taking numerous lengthy, grueling bicycle excursions throughout the United States, Canada, and Europe. During this pandemic, I've become somewhat of an amateur cyclist myself, and now can appreciate how painful those skinny little hard bicycle seats can be on the gluteus maximus. Well, Mike, it also occurs to me that during these interminable bar committee meetings, your well-conditioned gluteus maximus may be your biggest asset, pun intended. I could go on about Mike, but I'm told my allotted time is about to expire. As another aside, this is all new to me because I'm not accustomed to being told to sit down and be quiet. That's usually what I tell the trial lawyers to do. So I'll bring this introduction in for a soft landing with this observation. Our profession, like society in general, is facing and will continue to face substantial challenges in how we do things. With those changes come substantial challenges, but also substantial opportunities. Now, more than ever, we need strong, effective leadership. In Mike Tanner, you have those leadership qualities: talent, commitment, energy, consensus building, leading by example, and vision. Qualities needed to meet the challenges and to maximize the opportunities. Mike is fond of quoting one of his heroes, Winston Churchill, who once said of himself, quote, "I am an optimist. It does not seem much use being anything else," close quote. Mike, too, is an optimist about our profession and the third branch of our government. Mike loves our profession, being a lawyer, being around lawyers, and most important, Mike appreciates the precious gift of being able to practice law in a free, open society. I'm proud to call Mike Tanner friend and colleague. All of us should be proud to call Mike Tanner President-elect of our Florida Bar Association.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Mike Tanner,
I, Mike Tanner,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear
to uphold, protect, and defend
to uphold, protect, and defend
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of Florida,
the Constitution of Florida,
and the rules regulating the Florida Bar.
and the rules regulating the Florida Bar.
And I further agree
And I further agree
to carry out to the best of my ability
to carry out to the best of my ability
all responsibilities pertaining to my office.
all of the responsibilities pertaining to my office.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
It is now my great pleasure to introduce Jimmy Morales, a fellow Florida Bar member. Jimmy is the city manager for the city of Miami Beach, Florida, and more importantly, the husband of incoming President Dory Foster Morales. Jimmy, please introduce Dory and then join her and your children for her oath to be administered by Chief Justice Charles Canady.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us today for this very important occasion. It goes without saying that we would all prefer to be gathered in Orlando, surrounded by family and friends, to swear in the leadership of the Florida Bar, celebrate the achievements of the past year in our profession, and set the goals for the coming year. But that's not possible right now, so today we proceed virtually and look forward to the day, hopefully soon, when we can all gather together again in person to share the fellowship that bonds us. And it should not be lost to any of us that this swearing in of leaders of the legal profession is taking place on Juneteenth, the oldest known celebration of the ending of slavery. June 19th, 1865, was the date that a legal document, the Emancipation Proclamation, was officially announced in Texas, the last Confederate state to have the proclamation announced after the end of the Civil War. Sadly, recent events across this country have reminded us that the price of liberty and justice is eternal vigilance. I certainly hope that our profession continues to play a critical role in making sure that there truly is justice for all in our great nation. So, instead of a crowded room in Orlando, Dory and I are here at Miami Beach City Hall, as we seem to have come full circle in our lives. The high school where we met, Beach High, is just blocks from here. Who could ever have imagined, many years later, that I would have the joy and honor of introducing my best friend, the girl I fell in love with from day one, the mother of our two wonderful children, and my wife for over 30 years, that I would get to introduce her as the incoming president of the Florida Bar. God is certainly good. In fact, when I first met Dory, it probably was more likely that she might one day be president of the Dental Association. Her father, Harold, a larger-than-life figure, wanted her to be a dentist. Dory worked for several years in her later childhood as his chairside assistant in his office. I know it was not an easy day when she told him she did not want to follow in his footsteps. You know, her father used to say that children don't come with instructions. Well, neither does life. No matter what path you take, however, there can be incredible adventures ahead. Dory's adventures have taken her from working with the EPA in Washington, D.C. and New York, to being hired by then State Attorney Janet Reno, and then Deputy Assistant State Attorney Kathy Fernandez-Rundle, and now good friend, to serve as an Assistant State Attorney for 5 years. She worked hard and won the respect of her peers at both agencies. And then life took an unexpected detour. After our daughter Nora was diagnosed with autism in 1996, Dory decided she needed to step into the private sector to help pitch in financially. By the way, Nora's doing great, and we were so proud of her last year when she graduated from FIU. Dory was fortunate to link up with Marcia Elser, who was herself a trailblazer in the area of family law. Marcia was a tremendous mentor and friend to Dory. When Marcia retired, Dory took over the practice, and the rest is history. Dory has built a firm of 6 attorneys, all women, and her client base includes a list of notables. So, aren't I lucky? My wife is a great divorce attorney. Seriously, I think the skills that have made her an outstanding family lawyer have also served her well in serving on the Board of Governors. She's smart, works hard, and sweats the details. She's a great listener, but is also not afraid to speak her mind. She truly values her relationships and follows the golden rule of treating others as she would like to be treated. She's willing to compromise, but it must be fair to everyone. She understands the importance of mentoring, of building networks, of attorneys supporting one another. And when we both saw too many friends that struggled with mental health issues, some even sadly choosing to end their lives, she decided to use her platform on the Board of Governors to begin frank conversations about the wellness of attorneys across the state. And it was clear that she touched a nerve that needed touching. I observed how judges and lawyers would suddenly be forthcoming about their own struggles and willing to share their stories to help others. Dory herself has never been afraid to show her vulnerability if it could help others. One of her best skills as a family lawyer is her ability to help her clients not just with sound legal advice, but with compassion, empathy, and perspective. I know I am completely biased, but given the times in which we are now living, with all the uncertainty, pain, conflict, and dislocation, I cannot think of a person more well-suited to lead the bar into this coming year. Dory is grateful to so many people who have been part of that village that has helped her get to this auspicious moment. Her father, Harold, who left us way too early, and her mom, Roberta, who's also her dear friend and confidant, and Roberta's soulmate, Shell. Dory also sends her love to stepmom, Barbara, and husband, John, who I know are watching from Las Vegas, stepmom, Stenya, her siblings, Haley, Harold, and Robert, their spouses, Stephanie and Steve, stepsister, Angelique, her nieces and nephews, Hannah, Evan, Riley, and Kaya, and her extended family that stretches across the country from Jessup, Georgia to Northern California. We love you guys. Dory thanks all her friends who have been her support network for years. Dear friends like Bob and JR, Jackie and Kurt, Pia and JC, Malia, Bonnie and Elliot, Vicky and Gerald, Leon and Jill, Christy and Tom, Mary and Bud, Michael Band, her dear friend and soul sister since college, Perry, college and law school friends like Amy and Epek, our dear friend Lucy, and I'm even going to mention her friend and frequent opponent in the courtroom, Andy Lionoff, despite the fact that he calls our house way too early many mornings. Her law firm is like family to her. Her partner, Bonnie, their great associates, Lindsay, Nicole, Amanda, and Jessica, office manager, Carol, who's been a godsend, and paralegals, Babyan and Vanessa. She could not be here today without all their great work and support. You met our kids, Nora and PJ, earlier. As you might imagine, Dory's an incredible mother and is so close with both of our children. They inspire us daily with the things they have accomplished, and their warmth and energy help each of us sometimes get through those difficult days. And we both hold my aunt, famously just known as Tia, so dear since she moved in with us when Nora was born and helped raise our children so we could pursue our public and private endeavors. Te queremos, Tia. And to my mom, who loves Dory dearly, te queremos, Mami. Dory appreciates the many past presidents and members of the Board of Governors with whom she has served over the years. If this moment is bittersweet in any way, it is that this will be her last year serving on the board. It is a privilege she has cherished. Dory has always enjoyed working with the YLD, including this past year with her friend and outgoing president, Santo Degangi. He had a great year. She looks forward to the coming year with incoming President Adam White and President-elect Todd Baker. See you guys at the joint meeting. Dory has been fortunate to have worked with two excellent executive directors of the Florida Bar. Jack Harkness, who needs no introduction, has been a mentor and friend to Dory from the minute she came on the board. And while he left big shoes to fill, Josh Doyle has stepped in and is doing a great job. And I know Dory has enjoyed working with him as well. I want to thank both Jack and Josh for always having her back. And a special thank you to John Stewart. There's a special bond between a president and a president-elect. John and Dory have been a great team. He has been a good mentor and role model in that role. And I know we have appreciated his friendship. Dory is also looking forward to working with President-elect Mike Tanner. I have no doubt they will make excellent partners. So I guess I've arrived at that special moment. Dory and I met 41 years ago, and I cannot imagine my life without her. I've watched her grow from an unassuming high school sophomore to a true leader in her profession and a skilled expert in the courtroom. I guess by the nature of divorce law, she has earned a reputation of being very tough. I chuckle every time an opposing counsel or even former client of hers meets me and asks me, what's it like to be married to her? Let me tell you, she's a complete teddy bear. Okay, not always, but then again, I'm no prize. But together, we have had a wonderful journey that has seen us live in multiple cities, made course turns in our careers that we certainly never imagined, and volunteered to step up when needed to serve our respective communities. I'm so proud of her, and even she will admit that I'm her #1 fan, and she certainly has great taste in spouses. So, It is truly my honor and privilege, as her husband, friend, soulmate, and as a 33-year member in good standing of the Florida Bar, to introduce to you the incoming president of the Florida Bar, Dory Foster Morales.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Dory Foster Morales,
I, Dory Foster Morales,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
to uphold, protect, and defend
to uphold, protect, and defend
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Florida Constitution,
the Florida Constitution,
and the rules regulating the Florida Bar.
and the rules regulating the Florida Bar.
And I further agree
And I further agree
to carry out to the best of my ability
to carry out to the best of my ability
all responsibilities pertaining to my office.
all responsibilities pertaining to my office.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Jimmy, for that beautiful introduction and for doing the thank yous for me. Given the number of years we've been together, no one knows me better than you. I'm so thankful to you, our children, our family, our friends, and so many others who have encouraged me on my journey to become president of the Florida Bar. To Jimmy, and to everyone Jimmy mentioned, you know how much I love you all and how I wish we could all be physically together today. But this will have to do. The speech I'm giving today is not one I ever envisioned delivering when I was elected a year and a half ago. In a relatively short period of time, my life and everyone else's lives have changed. It's like we're in a maze, and we have to figure out a way to get out of it, as a society, as a profession, and as individuals. An interview question now in vogue is, what advice would you give your younger self? A year ago, I might have said to have more confidence, develop early networks, and seek out mentors. All good things, but they seem small at this point. If asked today what advice I'd give my younger self, I'd say to expect that no matter how much you plan and focus and learn and work really hard, nothing is more important than taking care of yourself and keeping your family safe. I'd also say that you need to support not only your family, but also your community and your profession, because those are the places where you'll find the most support when you need it the most. Times like these teach us just how much we need to be strong for ourselves and for one another. John F. Kennedy was once asked by a young child how he got to be a war hero. Kennedy replied, "They sunk my boat, so I had no choice." And the Florida Bar has no choice either. The ongoing pandemic and the recent civil unrest are accelerating our need to change the way we live and work. You know that lawyers are problem solvers. After all, no one calls us if they are problem-free. We must use our special training and positions of leadership for the betterment of society. And we're also officers of the court and defenders of the rule of law. In such uncertain times, we should focus on these important responsibilities more than ever before as we struggle to navigate our way through the maze. We have been fortunate to have great leaders in the bar whose wisdom and forethought brought us so far since its establishment 70 years ago. Over the decades, and especially during the past several years, our progress in diversity and inclusion, in applying technology to the practice of law, and on focusing on mental health and wellness has put us in a position of great strength when dealing with the crises at hand. Now, many of you know how particularly passionate I feel about the mental, physical, and financial health of our members. What you may not know is that while you know me as a relatively successful lawyer and now the bar president, I wasn't a particularly gifted law student. I wasn't on law review. I didn't go to an Ivy League law school, and I never worked at a big fancy law firm. Heck, at one point, I wasn't even sure if it made sense for me to finish law school. But each of us is the sum total of our experiences, our unique journeys. Mine took me from Miami Beach to the University of Florida, to the EPA in Washington, D.C., and then New York City, the state attorney's office in Miami, all before becoming a matrimonial lawyer. It includes marrying my husband, Jimmy, which was one of the best decisions I ever made. Just ask him. And then came our two children, Nora and PJ, who each brought their own special qualities to our family. I guess it was a good thing I finished law school. After over 30 years of practice, I thought I pretty much had things under control. But now I'm dealing with new and added stress that most, if not all, of my fellow lawyers are experiencing. Working from home with my husband, who is now a city manager, one child who had to return from college early to finish his first year online, and another who, because of the pandemic, is furloughed. Like many of you, I had to suddenly abandon my familiar work surroundings, shift to conducting business in a new way, and follow a fresh and ever-changing set of rules. Zoom, WebEx, GoToMeeting, Facebook Live, and so many other new means of communications and practicing law all require a new and different level of concentration. They also cause additional strain as we learn how to lawyer remotely while being effective advocates for our clients. On the other hand, we now know how to use the mute and unmute button and raise our hands on Zoom as we see fit. Not having the support of legal assistants, colleagues, associates, and partners physically at arm's length has become an uncomfortable reality. And we all have to practice this thing called social distancing, which creates numerous added challenges. 6 feet will never mean the same thing again. Just last month, I had a full-day evidentiary hearing with my client in South America, the opposing party in New Orleans, the judge in her home in Fort Lauderdale, me in my office in Miami, and who knows where the clerk, the interpreter, and the court reporter were located. Cross-examining witnesses, introducing evidence, all by Zoom. Certainly something I never expected to do in my lifetime. But thanks to the leadership of Chief Justice Canady, the Florida Supreme Court, and the state and county judiciary, we are all practicing law in ways we never thought possible. Now, as you likely know, in this speech, incoming bar presidents are expected to describe their agenda for the upcoming year, what great program or ideas they want to espouse. I was pondering what I was going to launch or expand in my speech, and then the boat sunk. Instead, when I look at the Florida bar, what we do and how we are doing it, I see a mosaic of tiles, and rather than coming up with new programs, I am in a position to consider which tiles we highlight in our mosaic. As lawyers, we are taught to focus on precedent, but now is a time to look ahead to see how we proceed. This year is going to be about rebuilding, becoming stronger, and making ourselves, our profession, and the Florida bar truly resilient. Our Florida bar will be more proactive than ever, listening to you, our members, and doing what we can to meet your needs and the needs of your clients as the profession continues to shift to the new normal. But there will be no return to normal when it comes to the issue of equality and fairness for all of our citizens. It will be up to the Florida bar, our partners, the courts, our voluntary bars, the bar's sections and committees to ensure that the phrase, "and justice for all," is meaningful and not meaningless. I know this is possible because I know what each and every one of you is capable of. We need to evaluate what's been done so far and how we will move forward with all of these new tools and approaches to improve the practice of law and the delivery of justice. Now is the time for us to focus on options that will work. Now, more than ever, as our society struggles with fear, anger, and frustration, we will continue to collaborate with our legal partners to keep our justice system solid and accessible to everyone, and assuring that full exercise of every American's constitutional rights. Abogado, avoca, avocato, lawyer. Regardless of the language, we are in a better position to withstand these problems than any other profession or business. As president of the Florida Bar, it is my hope that we will enhance the tiles in the mosaic to boost the resources provided by the Florida Bar to its members to help us all be successful. These are such difficult times, but I have no doubt that we can and will seize every possible opportunity and face the future unafraid. Thank you for your attention. I am so honored to be a member of our great profession. I am humbled by the opportunity to lead our bar, and I will always be proud to be your colleague. May God bless the state of Florida, and may God bless the United States of America.